Now the whole world is buzzing with two jargons. First, Brexit. The other, One Belt, One Road. Now, Colin, as an British expat in Hong Kong, living happily here, you seem to have combined these two jargons together and present yourself as a walking example of success.
Well, I try my best. I think leaving the UK as we did happened before Brexit was even an idea. So when we chose to leave, it was because we already noticed things within the system of the UK, the education, the behaviour of youngsters in the UK, that I wasn't so happy about. And I see those also in other countries, but particularly it was upsetting in my own country. Now we're away and we've seen what's happening in Brexit and so on. We don't really know what's going to happen, and nobody really knows what this deal is. But I think one of the things that's coming through is the feeling that the UK somehow has had to give over some of the independence it really was trying to vote for. And that's a bit of a problem, and that's what Trump presumably has indicated in his latest prognostication, that the deal won't work.
Yeah, I thought he's been supporting a deal.
Well, we thought that he should do as well. But it must be that in this deal there is something where maybe we have deferred to the EU in some respects, that we are not going to be free to make our free trade as we expected to. That's the only thing you can assume.
He is not happy because he must think Britain and Europe, like a Siamese twin, has not been cut off too totally.
Well, we've not been kind enough to him, have we? We haven't given him enough of what he wanted. Unfortunately, that's probably going to carry on, I could say, on the grounds that he's obviously running a country that's huge, just like there's a huge country called China, huge country called Russia. And those three big countries, I think, are really remarkable in the way that they try to sustain their organisation, their people, their economy, but run from one small place that's not in the centre of the country.
You don't sound like a particularly great fan of the current American president.
I'm not a huge fan, but whether or not he does politically good things, and there seem to be some good stories coming through about the economy of the States at the moment, nevertheless, as a person, he does not deserve to hold office because of the way that he behaves. Behaves to his friends as much as to world leaders and to the public and the press. I mean, you don't treat people the way he treats people.
Yeah, but you know that most Chinese in China, they are not allowed to say this, but they are great supporters of Trump because he's giving their country a very hard time.
Well, yes, I suppose if you look at it that way, anybody who's an enemy of your friend becomes your enemy as well, or a friend of an enemy and so on. But I think the snag for the UK at the moment with the Brexit situation that we have is that it's been forced on the individuals who themselves never really wanted it, and they've had to push it through. So I think the whole political system in the UK is struggling with the biggest decision we've ever had to make under a situation where we didn't vote in the people who were trying to make the decisions, and we didn't give them the power and their time to do it properly. So it's bound to be a bodge, and it can't be anything but.
But it's good news for Hong Kong, because the latest rumor being that German and European students will be sent back from boarding school.
All right.
So that the boarding schools in Britain are all going to have a financially more difficult time. So the Chinatown bit on the campus of Eton is going to be expanded.
Indeed.
And they'll love it.
Well,
money, money, money.
Well, yes, but then would we... I mean, that puts the Chinese in a strong position to say, well, we won't pay the fees you've been asking us because we know you're desperate, so we'll actually pay you less. Yes. And that could be interesting as well. Yes. Sorry, is that a bad idea to recommend?
I heard that some Chinese students in boarding school have been campaigning for their canteen to include sweet and sour pork and Peking duck, rather than boring cereals and Yorkshire pudding and roast beef, that sort of rubbish.
So if I came to a Chinese school, would I be able to campaign for my Yorkshire pudding there?
Oh, no.
Right. You know, there's an interesting story. You know, of course, at Christmas, each country has its own special foods and so on. In the UK, we have Christmas pudding. Yes. Well, a few years ago, Alicia and I were staying at a hotel in Hong Kong, and we brought our black pudding, sorry, not black pudding, Christmas pudding with us. And we stayed in the hotel, we had Christmas lunch there, and we asked them, would they please steam our Christmas pudding? And they said, of course we will. They were a very obliging hotel. Anyway, after about an hour of steaming it, which is what you're supposed to do, the chefs came out of the kitchen holding their noses because they couldn't stand the smell of our Christmas pudding, which we thought was really quite strange. Because to us, of course, it's beautiful, but obviously different countries have different feelings of food.
It's like salted fish.
Yeah.
In Canton and Hong Kong, right? And kind of what do they call? Stinking tofu. Stinking tofu. You must try that one day.
No, I have come across it, don't worry.
And the thousand year egg or that sort of rubbish. Oh my goodness. However, most Chinese can't stand French cheese either.
Okay.
Right?
Well, some French cheese, I don't think the French can stand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope we continue to live in a more happy global world.
Yeah, and let's look forward to it.
Yeah, and then instead of thanking Donald Trump because of the single job he has been doing on China.
Yes.
It's just like the Iraqi people hailing George Bush Jr. as their hero when he sent the U.S. Army, when he sent in the U.S. Army to get rid of Saddam Hussein, and that's it.
Yeah.
You see, we have this fragmentation of views and conclusions as a result of globalization. Don't you think it's rather paradoxical to you?
Oh, it is, yes. I was just thinking while you were saying this, about statues to heroes, and thinking in the UK, would you put up statues to certain of our political leaders of the last 40 or 50 years? Yes, I think we like to honour the achievements, but not everybody's in agreement about how successful they've been.
Okay. Thank you, Colin, for behaving like a British gentleman.
Well,
you haven't given away much of what you may think genuinely. However, you have presented a lesson of very good spoken English.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good time.
Thank you.
更多途徑，更加方便，立即加入我哋 WhatsApp、Telegram 同 Instagram 啦。